And coming up this evening, $993 million Palugu multipurpose dam comes under sharp scrutiny as minority demands accountability for the $12 million spent on the non-existent projects so far.
To you that so far almost $12 million has been paid to the contractor. And as you can see, nothing, and I mean nothing, is being done yet. This is the taxpayers' money wasted.
We'll hear from the Peasant Farmers Association among other key stakeholders on the project thus far, plus take you through the changing phases of the project. Also in the bulletin this evening, former presidential candidate of the PPP and owner of defunct GN Bank expresses worry over debt owed the company by the government as he reveals the debt has grown from 1.8 billion cedis to 7.1 billion cedis.
A debt that used to be 1.8 billion Ghana cedis is now more than 7.1 billion Ghana cedis. I'm not talking old Ghana cedis or old cedis. That is real new Ghana cedis. So today, what we are asking is we're saying let them pay the money.
We'll also hear from Dr. Papakwesi Ndum, who is confident of a release of his banking license by the next administration should the NPP government fail to do so.
Yadi sika nyakotukum sika eni desisi banki mamreka nyede se nana adodan kwa akufo ado na ban se wanfa bank na anfa mehen ansa na wakwa menyimede yerboto aba yimpo ababa no osba mehen.
Now, the Bank of Ghana is also set to deploy measures to provide stability to the cedi, which has been experiencing sharp decline against major trading currencies in recent times.
As a result of the very successful domestic gold purchase program, the Bank of Ghana remains fully committed to provide stability in the exchange rate for the cedi. The bank has enough foreign exchange reserves to support the market, and economic agents should stop engaging in speculative purchases, as they will suffer economic losses when the correction occurs. The Bank of
We have details of these stories and many others coming up in the bulletin right here on Starr 103.5 FM. Stay with us.
There's a delegation from the minority side.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, MyStar Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Well, grateful for your company this evening and welcome aboard Ghana's most comprehensive news analysis program. Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. And as always, it's a very interactive show and you are a big part of the conversation. So do join me on our live stream on Facebook at facebook.com/Starr 103.5 FM. Join me with your thoughts, your comments, your views and contributions to the stories that we will be tackling this evening. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. And for those of you who might not have the privilege of joining us on Facebook, you can join us with your thoughts via WhatsApp on 0552 880 216. 0552 880-216. Now, let's get to the details of our stories this evening, and we're starting with one that has generated a lot of conversation, and that has to do with the Palugu multipurpose dam, because the $993 million project has come under sharp scrutiny, with the minority in parliament demanding further and better particulars from the government on the about $12 million spent so far on the non-existent project. President Akufo-Addo, you recall, in 2019 cut the sword for the construction of the Palugu multipurpose dam, which among others says was to deal with the perennial flooding as a result of the spillage of the Bagre Dam, plus generate electricity and provide irrigation for agricultural purposes. Now, the project was welcomed with joy, especially from residents in the northern part of the country who are gravely affected yearly by the floods. But that joy seems to have been drowned in the dam, which remains a promise with nothing to show on the grounds. Now, you recall on the 8th of April, the issue of the payment of about $11 million to the contractor of the Palugu multipurpose dam came to the fore when the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, appeared before the committee. So now listen to excerpts from that committee hearing.
Somewhere you will see final payment for construction of the Kodjo irrigation project. Yes, Kodjo irrigation project, final payments. 2-3. At the top there, you see the last but one. Final payment for the construction of the Kodjo irrigation project. The question is, I thought probably before payments are made, contractors present certificates. Because when you get to Kodjo, there's nothing there. There's no even a pole. There's no even a signboard. And if the contractor is taking $11 million, there's nothing. There is no even a what do we call it? Like a container. You can't even see the project site. So what certificate was presented before this money was paid? That's my question. The sun there was at all. There's no even sun on the site. You can't even identify the site.
Let him answer.
I want to know how that money was paid.
Yes, he will answer.
I think the amount you're referring to was paid in 2021, not 2022. And the auditors would have to tell us because they must have cited their documentations before they wrote this report. The Auditor General, yeah. So maybe they can explain.
Before then, if assuming that it was something like a mobilization, but if you say final, okay.
It's a final payment.
It's a final payment, okay.
Can we, as auditors, could you help us out over here? It says final payment. Now, the honorable member is saying that there's nothing at that site. I'm sure when you did the audit, you saw something.
Honorable Chair, Controller instructed them to pay, and they paid. We are not aware whether the project has been completed or there's nothing ongoing.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I'm not happy with the response from the auditors because as part of the audit, they simply don't verify payment regularities. They do in situ inspection of projects. So yes, you may be at the headquarters, but the regional officers who are closer to the project could have gone to site to ascertain that not merely paying for the project on paper, but the project has actually been delivered. So that's my first follow-up. My second one is the Palugu irrigation project is different from the Palugu multi-purpose dam. So I want to find out that this payment is not in respect of the dam, but it's actually the irrigation which says farmers. Who is the auditors? They saw the documents. Because the governor actually clarified that it's the auditors. I think the auditors are supposed to. Yes, so they should be speaking to the document, the nature of the documents that they saw. Otherwise, then, Chairman, I seek your leave to demand that the documents based upon which these payments was made should be furnished. We should be furnished a copy of the set of documents for purposes of further interrogation of this matter.
I think the auditors could review it and then give us an update on which one It is. And since it says final payment, they could give the information back to us on what was done. But, Mr. Governor, let's go to page.
Mr. Chairman, I have a follow-up on the payment on the Palugu issue, because the auditors answered that the contractors asked for payment and they were paid. And I believe before a contractor will be paid, there should be a certificate. I would like to, of work done. I would like to find out from the auditors whether they cited a certificate of work done that warranted the payment of this amount of $11.9 million. So the auditors, I just want to find out from the auditors the basis for the payment.
Honorable Chair, at this level, we are looking at a payment made in foreign currency. But if you want the details, then we have to go back and reconcile as directed by the chairman. Thank you.
Okay. So they will do that.
Chairman, on the same table. Yeah.
Yeah, the auditors are going to review it.
So you heard excerpts from the Public Accounts Committee sitting, basically dealing with some $11 million that was paid to the contractor for the construction of the Palugu multipurpose dam. But what we do know now is that the minority in parliament has charged the vice president and NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mamadou Bawumia, to immediately take steps to complete the construction of the Palugu Dam. Speaking to the media after leading the minority members of the Mines and Energy Committee to visit the project site, ranking member for the committee, John Jinapo, accused the NPP flag bearer of deceit as he demanded accountability for the money spent so far on the project.
There's a delegation from the minority side of the Mines and Energy Committee and some leadership from the National Democratic Congress and a delegation from the chiefs within the area. We are here to observe and inspect for ourselves the level of progress in respect of the Palugu multipurpose dam. As you would recall, in 2019, His Excellency President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia were here. They cut the sword for the construction of the Palugu multipurpose dam, estimated at almost $1 billion. The President assured that the project will be completed in 48 months. And so as we speak, by now, the project should have been completed and commissioned. We have received numerous reports indicating that no work is being done. And so we are here to witness for ourselves the state of the construction. We've engaged the paramount chief, we've engaged the community, and we are here ourselves to see for ourselves the status of the work. I can confirm to you that so far, almost $12 million has been paid to the contractor. At today's exchange rate of about 16 cedi, that translates to about 192 million Ghana cedis. And as you can see, nothing, and I mean nothing, is being done yet. This is the taxpayers' money wasted. We visited the site for the contractor, and you can attest, the contractor has packed and left site. Not only has he abandoned the project, the chippings that he brought there, the few blocks that were molded to even construct the site, our information is that those blocks have been sold. The chippings has equally been sold. And so the taxpayers' money has gone down the drain. My checks in Accra indicates that the contractor has even left Ghana. We find this development very, very unfortunate. From all intents and purposes, this was nothing but an election gimmick to hoodwink the people. Right after the elections, nothing has happened. And so this can best be described as a scam. We therefore call on President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who comes from this area, to fulfill their promise. 6 days ago, we heard Dr. Bawumia state that this project is dear to his heart. And I asked myself, what project is he talking about? Because the project site has been turned into a farming area by the local community. And so we call on Dr. Bawumia to at least honor his promise to his own people. With just about 6 months to the election, it's obvious that this project will not be completed. But let me assure you that on assumption of office, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama would ensure that we prioritize this project. This project can generate 60 megawatts of hydropower, 50 megawatts of solar power, and irrigate thousands and thousands of lands for rice production and other crops. But more importantly, it will serve as a bulwark and as a buffer to ensure that we do not have the perennial flooding that we suffer with water coming up north. And so I'm here with the Honorable Edward Bauer. And so I would hand over to him to also say something as far as this project is concerned. That amount of money, almost 200 million cedis, that has been dashed to this contractor. Somebody must be held liable. Somebody must be held accountable. 200 million cedis is no small money. $12 million can do a lot in this country. And so we would use every legitimate means.
Right, so that's John Jinapo. He is the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, and he led the team today. He led the team basically to inspect the project site for the Palugu multi-purpose dam. So why is the Vice President, Dr. Baumia, being blamed for the stalled project? Because we know he's the Vice President, and he said he's the mate, not the driver. So why is he being blamed? Now I'll tell you why. It's because he mentioned during his campaign tour that the project is dear to his heart as it sits on top of his priorities. Listen to him when he spoke to the clergy in the Upper East region as part of his campaign tour.
My first priority is going to be agriculture. Agriculture and large-scale commercial agriculture, mechanized agriculture with the application of technology. This is what has been lacking. We have the land, we have the water, and so we need to move into large-scale commercial production, mechanized with technology that we are going to use to help our farmers access credit, and with irrigation. I have no doubt in my mind, and I was championing the Palugu Dam. We have not yet been able to do. It's a major priority because that can bring 28,000 hectares into cultivation. And I want to see, and of course, it's also going to generate electricity and stop the flooding that we are seeing usually when the Bagri Dam is open across our country. So I want to really focus on agriculture to reduce food prices. Along the White Volta, we can really do a lot. And the North in particular has vast amounts of land. Vast amount. Savannah region has the largest land mass of any of the regions in Ghana.
So we heard Dr. Mamadou Baumia there. But let's get on the phone lines now and speak to Dr. Charles Nyaba. He is Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. And they have been keenly interested in the construction of the Palugu multipurpose dam because they say the irrigation component would greatly lead to the availability of more water for agricultural purposes. So they were really looking up to this. From 2019 till date, we've not seen anything happen there. Doc, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you and good evening.
Good evening to you too. I hope you're doing well.
I'm fine. I just returned from the field. I haven't visited yet, but I think the subject matter is of ultimate concern to us. So right. I'm happy to engage.
Fantastic. So from 2019, when the promise was made, the sword was cut basically for the construction of the Palugu multipurpose dam. Till date, we're not seeing anything on the grounds. What are your comments on that?
Yeah, so I think as a farmer, especially coming from that part of the country, we are worried. We are worried because we met the Vice President at the Flat Star House in November. We discussed our concerns after our members called that we need to actually step up our campaign to ensure that the dam was done. We had promised, we were told that when the budget is read, we will see some allocation to ensure that work was done. Now we are more worried because after the time we made the Vice President, we never knew that $11.9 million had already been paid for no work done. So when the Public Account Committee put it in public domain and it got to our members, if not because I calmed them down, by now you would have seen a series of demonstrations around the area about what has happened. This is because when the sword was cut in 2018, after the feasibility study was done, we made to understand that the fact that every dry season, our youth, the young women have to travel to Kumasi, Accra, Takoradi, and other areas to look for non-existing jobs. was going to be a thing of the past when the dam is constructed. Apart from that, we realized that in recent times, northern Ghana is the area that has been supplying most of the cities with vegetables like tomatoes and peppers. But in recent years, that is not happening because the climate change has set in, and the few dams, existing dams, no longer contain water that will be able to do any meaningful farming in the dry season. So when this idea came up, we thought that I was going to address those problems. But now it appears all hopes are being lost because nothing is happening. We continue to get promises and no concrete work is done.
And with that, I remember that in 2022, one of the things you did was to ask for a dedicated source of funding for the project because you believed clearly the advantages that were going to inure to the agricultural sector if this dream was realized. And since then till now, are you surprised we are where we are?
Yeah, I'm more surprised because if you look at our food security situation in the country, one would have expected that we do substantial investment in agricultural infrastructure, such as dams. Fortunately for us, we already have a lowland area which is bounded by a lot of rivers, and then we also have fertile lands around the area. That when you create these dams, it's going to address over 50% of our food security challenges. In other parts of the world, like Libya, Israel, they are even in the desert. They are able to convert the sea and then redirect the water to use for irrigation purposes. But we are fortunate we don't need to do that. So we are more surprised because this is the time that the agriculture sector needs serious investment. And there hasn't been any proper investment in any agricultural infrastructure. So since the promise was made, I was expecting to actually see some amount of budget allocation. The budget allocation we saw in the main budget was 250 million Ghana cedis. But during the mid-year budget reading, that amount was taken out. Okay? So it means that government itself didn't really mean the construction of the dam, but they only use it as a way of getting votes from people from Kodjo. You know that the short cutting was done in 2019,
right,
and the election was in 2020.
Just a year away.
I can bet you, that dam, that short cutting has contributed significantly to people in the area voting for the NPP government. You realize that for the first time, NPP competed with NDC in that area in terms of votes. Then that was one of the main attributes. We were all happy. We went around complaining that, okay, if this happened, I mean, that's our livelihood. And people voted for them. No, the whole thing was a scam. So for us, we just hope that within this short period, we will hear some good news before December 2024. Otherwise, I think that my people are not happy of the development.
It's quite interesting. You say that you're hoping for some good news because we've heard the vice president. He's talked about the fact that, well, agriculture remains on top of his priority list. So if he becomes president, he's going to ensure that the construction is done. And if he has any chances of being president, that would begin in 2025.
So that is our concern because, in 2021, the same vice president made it clear to all of us the Kodjo multi-purpose dam is his signature. And then he's committed to ensuring that that dam is constructed. When we met him in December again, 27th December, again, he promised us that we shouldn't worry. He's doing all within his strength to ensure that he mobilizes enough resources to ensure that the dam is constructed. Subsequent to that, 250 million Ghana cedis was allocated. Okay, $11.9 million was also paid. But we go to the site and nothing is happening. So we would have released the vice president, and we are still hoping that his promises come to light. That at least we shall see some small work going on there. I don't know whether you had opportunity of visiting the site. When you get there, apart from the trees that were cleared and some few initial sand and blocks that were laid for the contractors to put their equipment there, nothing has been done. And the blocks have also, even the sand has been taken away. Yeah. So in our view, we concluded that, it is being abandoned by government. Because you cannot send a contractor to a site, the person pack everything, even the sand and the block that they brought in, they pack everything away. It's a very worrying situation for us. And we just think that all the policy think tanks within the government will take a second look at it, and then if they can do something drastic.
Now, let's talk about the absence of the Palugu multipurpose dam. Looking at in terms of agriculture, what impact does the absence have currently?
Yeah, so you see, the dam was actually to address multiplicity of problems. If you remember, every year when we get to later part of August to early September, there has always been flooding when the Bagri Dam is filled from Burkina. So the essence, one of the reasons why the Palugu multipurpose dam was created was to ensure that all those water that flood the area and carrying away farms and people's livelihood, the water will be stored there. That's one. So we're going to address the issue of flooding in the area. Secondly, it was going to be used for hydropower because VRA has also shown so much interest that they will use it to power for agro industries. Thirdly, we are going to have all year round crop production. And this is created in an area where we have greater quantities of our rice being produced. Because if you take Northeast, the dam is going to impact production in Northeast, Upper East, Northern region, and even Northern region and part of Bono region. So that was going to happen. Livestock breeding in that area, both cattle, goat, and sheep, is massive. And when it gets around this time, we are about entering the May rainy season. Between the drought and the main season, cattle are dying because of lack of water. So that component was also going to be addressed. So, and this is the core of planner economic development, if we are able to do this.
Right.
Because we are able to produce enough, supply to industry, create the same industries around the area, use power from the dam to power the industries. You can imagine amount of benefits that we are going to get. But all that, we are not paying serious attention to that.
So clearly, we really need to have this dam constructed, and that would really increase agricultural yield and improve upon it.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. As we speak, you know, there's a food shortage in Ghana. Sometimes we close our eyes, we don't want to see the truth. You travel across all the major towns. Ask for the price of tomatoes. You cannot even buy. Ask for price of garden egg or pepper. You can buy. Last 2 months, we were seeing tomatoes in the market because we were bringing these tomatoes from Burkina. And we have better fertile lands for producing tomato compared to Burkina. And the Palugu multipurpose dams was going to actually address those issues. Most of our agro-based industries in the southern Ghana, talk of Blue Skies, talk of Nestle, talk of Guinness Ghana, and the rest. They are suffering to get enough raw material to feed their equipment. And this was one of the issues that we are going to address. When we had the Farmers' Day celebration in Volta region in 2018, the president promised all of us in 2023 we were going to be self-sufficient in rice production. But that promise was not backed by any investment. So we were seeing the Palugu multipurpose dam as one of the areas that if we are able to properly execute, that would have helped us to achieve that dream. As we speak, Ghana imports over 60% of the rice that we consume. When we are self-sufficient in rice production, we have youth unemployment, and yet the agriculture sector has potential to absorb all the youth who are looking for jobs and they are not getting, and even bring other people outside. All these things follow the purpose that was come to address them by either through production, processing, or service provision. But we are not paying serious attention to all this. So we think that it's a huge opportunity for us to transform our economy through the Palugu multipurpose dam. And if any political party can assure us that we'll give them the nod they will prioritize this down. I think me and my group wouldn't hesitate at all to follow them.
Right. So any political party that demonstrates commitment to getting this done, you and your group will definitely be for them.
Of course. We'll do that because, you see, it's not just about coming to see other things. You may do all the road infrastructure, you may do all the city development, you may do all the policy. But at the end of the day, if the agriculture sector suffers, we all suffer. Okay? And the farmers' livelihoods, when you go to those areas, about 80 to 90% of the population, their livelihoods depends on agriculture. So it means that if you deny them this investment, you are denying them of their livelihoods. So I don't think we will be demanding too much if you say that any of the political parties who would show commitment to develop that dam will follow them. I don't think we are demanding too much.
Definitely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Mr. Nyaba.
Thank you too.
Right, that's Charles Nyaba. He is the Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. This is Starr Today on Starr 103.5 FM. Stay with us.
Starr Today, first, fast, and credible.
Now, the 8th edition of the Ghana Chief Executive Officer Summit 2024 has been dominated by arguments on who is a better manager of the Ghanaian economy, as the two front-runners of the 2024 elections, the NPP's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and his counterpart from the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, challenge each other over whose government has so far managed the economy better. The two politicians made pronouncements of their achievements to establish edge over each other as they court the electorates in the December 7 elections. Let's listen first to John Dramani Mahama at the CEO Summit.
I drew attention to the significance of digital transformation as a crucial factor for Ghana's economic progress. Additionally, I elaborated on the advantages of implementing a 24-hour economic policy to enhance competitiveness, attract investments, improve socio-economic development, and stimulate private sector growth. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout history, people have always the best available resources and tools to achieve specified objectives. A few decades ago, movies like The Terminator and Total Recall seemed like far-fetched ideas. But today we're living in the era of AI, machine learning, and robotics, and there seems no turning back. In my various presentations, I've mentioned that the next NDC administration under my leadership will fully embrace technologies, including AI as a key development paradigm in our governance. It is fitting, therefore, that this summit is themed Reigniting Business and Economic Growth, Charting a Path Forward, Economic Diversification, and Artificial Intelligence Transformation. As we all know, this is an election year, so permit me to be a bit more frontal and political in my speech to you this year. As leaders in our respective industries and champions of economic progress, we are acutely aware of our country's current challenges and difficulties. Today we stand at a critical and troubling crossroads. Our beloved country, Ghana, has become a bankrupt, collapsed economy due to poor leadership of almost 8 years. This leadership has failed Ghanaians and yet refuses to accept or even take responsibility for the most reckless management of our economy known in previous history. This has plunged our nation into an unprecedented economic crisis and is reported to have pushed more than 800,000 of our fellow citizens below the poverty line. Unemployment has jumped to 14.7% from 8.5% in 2017, the highest level recorded in the history of the Fourth Republic. Inflation is above 25%.
So you heard John Dramani Mahama of the NDC. He's flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress. But Dr. Bawumia will not take this lying down. He joined the conversation via Zoom, and he accused John Mahama of being an alien to what he termed an improved economy.
Basically, turned down. Unemployment was very high. We endured 4+ years of doomsday. Agricultural productivity declined. GDP growth in agriculture was very, very low. Industrial growth, because of doomsday, also collapsed. And they had to cancel teacher training allowances. They couldn't pay. They had to cancel nursing training allowances. They couldn't pay. They had a 3-month paid policy for teachers for working for 3 years and be paid for 3 months. Chalk in school was a problem. Many parents were not able to educate their children because they couldn't afford senior high school education, and the government could not. Even if you cannot buy chalk for schools, how do you have free senior high school education? Investment in TVET was very low, and all of that. So this was the background against which we came into government. And if you look at what we have done in the last 7 years, and we are now in our 8th year, it is very clear. If you look at all the routine things that governments do in the area of development, we have done much more and performed much better than his government. With all due respect, we have. If you look at agricultural.
So you heard Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. He is the flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party. Now let's move on to some other stories. And former presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papakwesi Ndum, is demanding the immediate release of debts owed his companies by the government, a situation he says needs to be urgently addressed so he in turn pays his customers. According to him, the 1.8 billion cedis owed his companies by the government at the time his banks were revoked has ballooned to about 7.1 billion cedis. Now he wants government to settle the debts immediately so that his companies can also service their debts to customers who have been demonstrating over the years for a release of their locked up funds. Addressing the press conference in the central region, Dr. Ndum said the bank would have still been in operation if the government had paid the contractors who took loans from the banks to construct government roads for the company to recoup their investment, but they were rather shut down by the same institution who owes them.
If you decide to give money, credit, to finance the activities of Ghanaian contractors, that money, it should come back. So where is that money? That money is with the government of Ghana and its agencies, and they know. The former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, knows. The current Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, he knows. The head of Cocoa Board, we financed cocoa roads. They used to be the safest activity you can engage in. We invested in schools. So many schools that you might see here and there. It is monies from our companies that pre-finance them. That contractor has spent millions and millions working on that project. Not one peswa has been paid to that contractor. So what used to be about 1.8 billion Ghana cedis, listen to me again, a debt that used to be 1.8 billion Ghana cedis is now more than 7.1 billion Ghana cedis. I'm not talking old Ghana cedis or old cedis. That is real new Ghana cedis. So today, what we are asking is we're saying, let them pay the money. They pay us, the customers get paid, the bank rises, and other things come. It's as simple as that.
So you heard there Dr. Papakwesi Ndum, chairman of Group Ndum, and also the former presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, PPP. Now, these are some of the lamentations that he's making. The fact that government owes his companies, Gold Coast Fund Management, which was later converted to Black Shield, about 7.1 billion cedis. And he says he's distraught because they gave out monies to contractors who were working on Government of Ghana projects. Government failed to pay those contractors, and then the government in turn collapsed his banks and then his fortunes. But let's get on the phone lines and speak to a member of Group Ndum, Atta Kwekuwedi. Kwekuwedi, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you too, my brother.
Great. So Dr. Ndum says that the debt of 1.8 billion has ballooned to 7.1 billion cedis. Kindly explain this to me.
Right, what Dr. Ndum meant. Okay, so first let me greet your cherished listeners. Dr. Ndum said the government, before the revocation of the lances of GM Bank, owed his companies 1.8 billion. Now, For the past 5 years or 6 years or so, that money has accrued interest on it. And that is why he said, as it stands today, the government owes its companies 7.1 billion Ghana cedis.
Right. So we're talking about interest that has been accrued over the period. 4 years interest moves 1.8 to 7.1 billion cedis.
Yes.
Great.
And you see, the government owes about more than 5 of its companies, you see, and it's not about one agency. So when you put all the figures together, that gives you that amount that he's talking about.
And as it stands now, what basically has been the response of the government to settling this debt? Because Dr. Indom keeps talking about the fact that government needs to settle these debts. And if government owes him, what is government saying?
Right. So what is happening is that if you recall, after the verdict of GM Bank issue, the judge who sat on the case, Justice Giftia J. Adu, made a statement that what the decision that BOG took was right, because at that time, GM Bank didn't have the minimum capital requirement that BOG was asking them to give. Now, he said that although government owes GM Bank, that could not be used as a reason for BOG not to revoke its license. So the judge even advised in her judgment that, well, if Dr. Indum wants to take up the matter, he can take it up and then go to court and then fight for his money. Now, for the past 1 month or so, Dr. Indum and his people decided to write to all the agencies which owed his companies. And these companies are Get Fund, we're talking about Cocoa Board, Road Ministry, Western Housing, and many others. In fact, I personally took the letters to. The letter was written by the lawyers of Dr. Indum, and the letters were sent to them. In fact, some other ministries or government appointees were copied. For instance, Chief of Staff was in a copy. Dr. Baumier's office was copied. The president was copied, just to let them know, including Godfrey Dami. They were all copied to let them know that this is how much these agencies owe Dr. Indum companies. And since we sent that letter to them, government has not come out to respond to that letter. In fact, some of the meetings I had with some of these people, they never denied the fact that they owe these Dr. Indum companies. They confirmed. But the fact was that we don't have money. Those who even contested the figure said that we will audit them and then get back to you people. But courtesy demands that when somebody writes to you, you need to acknowledge the receipt of the letter by writing back to the person. But they have not done that as we speak today.
Wow. And that's why Dr. Indom is making the call that government needs to release the funds so that he... Quite a worrying situation. So as it stands now, what's the way forward? Because we know that the affected customers of Gold Coast Finance and all of that, they are also on the neck of Dr. Indom to release their funds.
Yeah, you see, one thing that, my brother, I want to use your medium to say is that when people say that their money is with Dr. Indom, that is neither here nor there. When the government took the license of what you call GM Bank and then Gold Coast, what did the government say? Government said that recently, Dr. Mahmoud Bamia said, last week also when he was in the Northern Region, he said the decision that they took was in the best interest of the country because they protected the depositors' money. My brother, have they protected the depositors' money? They promised that they are going to pay the depositors. They promised that they are going to save jobs. But as we speak today, there are millions of Ghanaians who have not even received their money from the receiver. So when they say they took the license just to protect depositors' money, what are they talking about? You have taken over the assets. You have taken over the assets of the bank and other things. So it's the duty of the government to pay these people, because before they took the license and there was this issue of we will do it, Dr. Andrew and his people presented a plan, payment plan to BOG and the Ministry of Finance that say, look, give us 3 years. All these people who are coming to our bank and our institution for their money, we will pay them. The DOG and the Minister of Finance said, no, you can't pay. We will take your license. We are going to pay them. About 3 or 4 months ago, in America, Silicon Valley Bank similar situation happened. What did Joe Biden say? Joe Biden told American people that, hey, nobody should rush to Silicon Valley and take his money. We will protect the deposit money. We will maintain the job. We will make sure that everybody is safe. And as we speak today, the Silicon Valley Bank in California, in America, is still working. The same thing Dr. Indu and the people were telling them that, please, allow this thing to work. They said no. So those who are claiming, if we say somewhere, we hear people, our money is with Dr. Indu. Nobody. Dr. Indu doesn't owe any money. If you want your money, you go to Akufo-Addo, you go to the finance minister, Dr. Amin Adam and others. Because they told Ghanaians that we are protecting your money. We will pay your money back to you. That's why they brought the receiver, Eric Nananipa, who is in charge of all these assets. And he's been going around collecting the loans that people took from the bank. What is he using that money for? President Baumia said that they are preparing a new bailout for Gold Coast customers. Where are they going to get the money from?
So clearly, Dr. Indum does not owe anybody. So when he says that government should release the funds so that he can also pay the people that the bank he owes, which people are those then?
Okay, so let me explain to you. If Dr. Indum says today that he doesn't owe anybody, it means that the money that they claim is with Dr. Indum, is with government. So until government gives the money to Dr. Indum says, I don't owe you. You understand? If government today announces that I am paying Dr. Indum all the money that we owe his companies, we are giving the license back, then people can rush to Dr. Indum and say, we are taking our money from you.
Right.
But until that thing is done, nobody should worry the man.
So until government releases money to Dr. Indum, then the customers should go straight to the government.
That's it. My brother, because that was an announcement that government gave to us. Government made it categorically clear, and it is in public domain that we are going to pay deposits. Go and validate your accounts or whatever, how much you have with the bank. And that's why they have that receiver, Eric Nananipa, to take care of it. And I'm saying that since they made that statement, have they been able to pay all Ghanaians whose money were with GM Bank? No. People are still complaining. Today, we started a tour yesterday. We've been to Central Region, Western Region, and all the people are saying that our money are still with Dr. Indum. And he said, please, your money is not with me. After explaining to them, now they have understood, and they now know that it's a good for this government, which is not telling them the truth. Tell them that we took the bank. We are unable to pay you. But don't say the money is with Dr. Indum. It's not with Dr. Indum.
Right.
Then let's get that thing clear.
Right. So this tour that Dr. Indum is embarking on, how's the reception been?
Oh, it's very, very impressive, my brother. It's very, very impressive. In fact, we started yesterday. Before yesterday, we had done what we call street campaign, where we went to so many places across the 16 regions of this country. Now, we started yesterday, and we've been to Kasua, Manfum. Yesterday, we went to Kasua, Manfum, Utu, Breku, Gomua, Afranse, Brewa, Aguna, Abrim. Today, we started from Takrade, then we moved to Market Circle, Elmina, Cape Coast, and our last stop was Marketing. Tomorrow, we will move to Eastern Region, Suhum, Sawam, and Kropon, and other places. So we'll be doing it. We will be going through all the 300 branches that we have. The bank have locations. So these are the things that we are going to do. And then we are drumming home. We want to go forward, and the government know that the man never did anything wrong. GM Bank didn't commit any crime.
Very well.
For his license to be revoked.
Okay. Kodjo, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you, my brother.
So that's Ata Kwekubwedi. He is a member of Group Indum speaking to us on that matter. But what we do also know is that Dr. Papakwesi Indum is also confident that the next administration will release his banking license if the Akufo-Addo government fails to do so.
Nana Adodan kwa Akufo-Addo na ban so wanfa bank na anfa mehen ansana wa kwa menyimede yerboto aba yimpo obaba no ozba mehen yimpo obaba no ozba mehen o sende osuma waka no wa echi osuma waka wo bejina bego ma waka na so wo bedema waso o pa kwesi so wasaka wo bank na mo wo munua bi mo mo ofase bi wo ho and I'm an Ejuma, and I want back one over Canada Procon. One back Canada Procon. Ma Obiara Wode, GN Bank had no equal in Ghana. Nobody else in Ghana could do what we are doing. And yesterday, we will go where other people don't want to go. And so when you how obeya, Metsna Makarim, Yakwa Wulensi, and Yakwa Riasasi, yes, Sidan Woho, Uria Akosaboba, Akwa Riasasi, Sidan Woho.
So you heard the Dr. Papakwesi Indum. He is the founder of GN Bank and also the former presidential aspirant on the ticket of the PPP. But let's get on the phone lines now and speak to Charles Nyame, his convener of the aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management. Charles, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Joshua, for having me on your show.
Great. So it's been years, and we've always been talking about one thing: you being able to access your locked up funds. What is the state currently?
Thank you very much. Greetings to all your listeners and maybe viewers on the Facebook Live. Now, just last week, the president of the aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management were met by the new finance minister at state. That's a minister of state at the finance ministry. Honorable Mohammed Adam and Abdul Sari, respectively, and the Reverend Obabi Tete, that is Christian Commission Director General. The conversation was a bailout that the government wants to enroll to clear our payment. In fact, figures were not mentioned, but we were informed that there's going to be some sort of payment in the month of June, and there will be a payment in the month of August as well. Then the final payment will take place in the month of October. We are waiting for them to come out with a payment plan. Then, if we have any reservation and recommendation, we will make. But as far as we are concerned, since an official announcement has not been made by the government nor the finance ministry, we can't believe whatever that they are saying. So that is the current state of our locked up fund as far as the government's effort to make payment is concerned.
And I'm sure that this is not the first time such promises have been made to you, and especially since no figures were mentioned, even though the months were given. When next are you meeting to get to understand exactly the fine details of this new plan?
We are not so enthused about the meeting that we have with the finance ministry because we have already given the government an ultimatum that is up to June 30th, 2024. If by then the government had not paid our monies, we are going to organize ourselves. There is 1,000 fund management customers, Gold Coast Fund Management customers across the nation. We are going to organize ourselves as a strong political body to fight against the fortune of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We have issued this ultimatum to them since a process, so they are aware of it. So whether it is their interest to settle this money so that maybe they can have a plain grounds to go into this election with the other political parties. Other than that, they have over 60,000 Gold Coast matured customers who have wives, children, they have military, they have family members to support them, to contend with. So it is in their best of interest to settle this money. We are not enthused about it because we have received these promises over and over, but to no avail. So that's the point we are now.
But we know currently that there is a new captain in terms of finance ministry, and he has taken the step to meet you. So does that change anything whatsoever in terms of the plans that you've had in the pipeline with the ultimatum that you had earlier given to the government?
Yes, our ultimatum is 30th June. And they are telling us that payment is going to be made before 30th of June. So we are looking forward to see if payment will be made on. But we have not stopped or we have not stopped any plans and an arrangement that we are making towards the end of our ultimatum. Plans are underground. We are making preparations to let the government know that we mean what we said. So we are not worried at all.
And how are members feeling? I mean, it's been years and you've been struggling to be able to get your funds and all of that. Tell me, how's the situation with your members?
Very bad, very sad. It is bad and it is sad because we have over 900 of our dead and gone. And if you listen to the stories behind their death, most of them needed money to go through some medical care or whatever, surgery and what have you, but they couldn't access the funds. Meanwhile, they have investment beyond the money that they needed to take care of their medical bills that sustain their life. So, on that part, it is very sad to note that someone who has an investment of over 2 million, that's only 500,000 Ghana cedis, take care of a medical condition overseas, and he couldn't access the money and he has to die. It is very bad, but these people save this money for these difficult times. And again, we have a lot of children of investors whose educational plans are shattered because the main investment that their parents did for their tertiary education has been locked up. And we have some people, they have been hanging in the house for over 4 years, 5 years, waiting for this money to be paid so that they can set up their education. Very bad. We have businesses that have closed up. We have families have been destroyed because of this monetary issue. So the situation is not good at all. And we are encouraging the government, we are advising the government that we govern a nation to bring relief to the people. We don't govern a nation to push the people into hardship and into difficult times like what the government has done to the fund management customers over 6 years now. It's very bad. So we know that every payment that they are coming to do, they are not doing it out of goodwill. They are doing it out of election pressure. And yesterday we want them to do it. We want them to meet the timelines. We want them to come out with a timeline, with a payment plan, and we want them to meet those timelines and the payment plan. Other than that, we have a strategy. Ashanti Region alone, we have over 10,000 of our members there. And Ashanti Region is the World Bank for the MPP. These people are mature people. Some of them have grandchildren. They have in-laws. They have children. They have brothers. They have sisters. They have mothers. They have husbands. They have wives. So if one person should decide to, let's say, 20 people to vote against the MPP within the Ashanti region, and if we do likewise across all the regions for the 61,000, we can determine the outcome of the election, and it will go against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the MPP at large.
Right. So as it stands now, for the purposes of education, how much are you owed cumulatively?
Okay. For now, we petitioned the Parliament, and the Parliament set up a committee, formed a committee to look into it. That was in the March 27th, 28th, and 29th. We were called. We the customers leadership, we were called, and the Finance Ministry. Honorable Abdullah Siasari was also called. The Revenue Minister was called. Ms. Mamawai, that's the Director General for Registrar General, was also called. And the figures, we got to know that the government needs not less than 5 billion to take care of the remaining locked up funds. As far as the
5 billion cedis or dollars?
5 billion Ghana cedis, not less than. It's something even over 5 billion to take care of the locked up funds as it stands now. But you see, these figures could be more because as far as the Gold Coast customers is concerned, we have been sustained for 13 good months as far as our investment is concerned. And so the calculations that the government has done, that puts the remaining balance to over 5 billion, it's more than it could be even 8 billion because we are talking of an investment interest of 13 good months. You see, because the license of Gold Coast Management Company was revoked on the 2019. So we were expecting that should the government make calculations for our payment, it's supposed to end at the day of revocation of the license because more or less our money operated actively until that date. But the government, the PwC and the Security Financial Commission, this calculation, they entered it into September 2018. So 13 months were just cut off. bring it. After that, if we will litigate with the government or whoever to take that 13 months and compensatory interest for these 6 years of devaluing our investments and our monies, we will take those actions. But first, we want to get those monies that they are bringing so that we can use some to litigate against the government.
Right. Well, Charles, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We're grateful. That's Charles Nyame. He is the convener for the aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management, and they have indicated that, well, they had a meeting with the Finance Ministry, and they've been assured that some funds will be released next month, which is the month of June, with other payments made in August and then October. This is Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. We'll go for a quick break, but before we do that, there's a press statement that has come in from the Ghana Education Service, basically indicating that they've interdicted some 3 senior high school officers over alleged stealing of free SHS food items. And let me read to you that statement. It says, management of the Ghana Education Service has interdicted Richard Ametohe, who is the Beza, Yom Jikunu, the matron, and Alex Obwadi, storekeeper, all of Soma Senior High School, with immediate effect pending further investigations into an alleged stealing of free senior high school food items. The 3 officers are to hand over to the headmaster of the school. The investigative committee has been given 2 weeks to submit its report to management, and it's signed by Cassandra Chum Ampofo, who is head of public relations unit of the Ghana Education Service. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Starr Today. First, fast, and credible.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Thank you so much for staying on with us here on Starr today on Starr 103.5 FM. We're also streaming live on Facebook at facebook.com/Starr 1035 FM. You can send your thoughts, your comments, your views, and contributions to WhatsApp number 0552 880-216. Now, the Bank of Ghana is set to deploy measures to provide stability to the cedi, which has been experiencing sharp decline in value to other major trading currencies. Now, several financial analysts have projected that the Ghana cedi will hit between 16 cedis to 18 cedis to the dollar by close of the year. You recall Minister of Finance Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam blamed the rapid depreciation of the cedi on payment to contractors and high cedi liquidity, among others, a concern many analysts have punched holes into. But the central bank says it is aware of the challenges and is instituting measures to arrest the fallen cedi. Addressing the media at the 118th Monetary Policy Committee press conference here in Accra, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, says his outfit is fully aware of the operations of illegal operators in the foreign exchange market and is working with the Financial Intelligence Center to sanitize the foreign exchange market, among others.
Central banks are expected to start the easing cycle when inflation begins to steadily decline towards targets. The Bank of Ghana's high-frequency real sector indicators pointed to steady improvement in economic activity, evidenced by continued steady growth in the CIEA. Similarly, the Purchasing Managers Index firmed up, driven by resilient consumer demand. On the contrary, real private sector credit remains generally weak, while business and consumer confidence softened, reflecting concerns about the high cost of raw materials and foreign exchange market pressures. Ghana's external sector position remains strong, although the current account surplus nearly halved in the first quarter of the year. Performance in the current account reflects a rebound in imports and net income payments. Accumulation of reserve buffers remains on course and set to exceed the program expectation in June, largely due to the domestic gold purchase program. The bank's reserve at end April 2024 currently stands at 3 months of import cover. The exchange rate pressures witnessed in recent weeks reflect a weakening of the current account surplus due to higher import demand, lower export revenue, especially a sharp fall in cocoa export earnings. Foreign exchange market pressures also reflect robust public spending on IPP arrears payment and capital expenditure outlays. There are also indications of increased pressures from importers diverting foreign exchange demand requirements into informal markets, increasing speculative demand for foreign exchange. The Bank of Ghana, however, has adequate reserves to manage these shocks to the foreign exchange market, having added over 600 million US dollars to the current foreign exchange reserve levels over the first 5 months of the year. The improved reserves position is also backed by strong liquid monetary gold holdings of over 26.6 tons, estimated at 2.1 billion US dollars as a result of the very successful domestic gold purchase program. The Bank of Ghana remains fully committed to provide stability in the exchange rate for the cedi. The bank has enough foreign exchange reserves to support the market, and economic agents should stop engaging in speculative purchases, as they will suffer economic losses when the correction occurs. The Bank of Ghana is taking measures to improve market conduct and instill sanity in the market for foreign exchange. To this end, the bank has worked with the Ghana Association of Banks to streamline documentation requirements for foreign payments to minimize the incentives to resort to the informal markets. To deal with the high demand pressures on the foreign exchange market, the bank has taken steps in the past few weeks to directly absorb foreign exchange needs of some corporate institutions, and this has led to a reduced pipeline demand for foreign exchange from the commercial banks. The bank is fully aware of the operations of illegal operators in the foreign exchange market and is working with the Financial Intelligence Center to sanitize the market. Foreign Exchange Bureau monitoring will be stepped up to ensure compliance with their regulatory framework.
So you heard the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison. But let's engage currency analyst Collins Appiah on this particular development. Mr. Appiah, thank you so much for your time this evening. So over the past couple of months, we've seen the performance of the cedi. Now, some experts have said that if things continue in the way it is, we are likely to even buy a dollar for over 18 cedis in the coming months. But the BOG says it is aware of the challenges, and it's put in place stringent measures to ensure that we do not get there. Top of that, they've talked about the fact that they have adequate reserves to manage the shocks. What do you have to say to that?
Thank you, and I think good evening to your listeners. I think we, for some time now, have been discussing this depreciation of the cedi against the major currency. Yes, you pointed out that people are predicting that this currency could rise to almost about 18 cedis per dollar. And some of us have the view that we might not get there before the end of the year. And an interview I granted on this your platform, I think about a week or two, I indicated that because of one, the period in which we are, be it an election year, the government will not find it prudent for the exchange rate to continue to depreciate. So for me, whatever that they have to do to stabilize the currency before the election, I'm very sure that they will be doing that. So today, when I heard of the governor putting in or bringing up these measures that I think they've put in place to curtail the depreciation of the cedi, I thought it was in the right direction. And if you look at what they intend to do, I think that by and large it will have an impact or a significant impact on the way the cedi is depreciating on the market.
But looking at the measures that they've also talked about, I mean, we heard the governor talk about the fact that the domestic gold purchase program has been successful. They are also going to improve market conduct, and they are currently absorbing directly the foreign exchange needs of some companies or corporations and all of this. You say that these measures, if really they go through, will definitely work on the cedi and make the cedi stronger?
Yes. So if you read the report that I think the central bank issued, you could see they were straight on, or they were able to spot what the causes, more or less were or are causing this depreciation. One of it, which I remember about 2 weeks or so, I mentioned, is the fact of the Forest Bureau, rather dictating the pricing on the market instead of the banks. So if you read the report, you could see now, having realized that they are talking about making compliance at the Forest Bureau market very strict. Forest Bureau should not be publishing their prices on social media. And now the report says that they've gone ahead to set up exchange rate task force, which I think, for me, is also a good thing that they have done. They have also engaged the banks, the Ghana Association of Bankers. Why are corporate institutions going to Forest Bureau more or less to go and demand or buy dollars from them when banks are selling those foreign currencies at a lower price? It tells you that maybe there's something at the bank there that probably is not going well with the corporate institution. That's why the corporate institution resort to the Forest Bureau market. And for me, it's more about documentation. And if you read the report, they have indicated that now they've gone ahead to work with the banks to look at the documentation requirement to be able to purchase a dollar from a bank. And I think if they do that, if a bank is trading at 13-point-something percent Ghana cedi, why should a Forest Bureau be operating at about 15%, about 15 Ghana cedi? Which I think, if you look at it, you could see that it's the Forest Bureau that is really driving the market. But the truth of the matter actually is that whether the banks are having those monies or those dollars for this corporate institution to get is one question as against documentation. So more or less, if the supply at the banks are not there, you go to a bank, you want to buy a dollar, and they tell you they don't have it. Irrespective of the price that you are selling it, you can still not have access to it to buy. You get me?
So it has to do with availability also.
So for now, maybe from where we sit, we will not be able to, indicate whether it's availability or it's a document. But they have come out to say that it's actually the documentation requirement.
Right.
So by and large, we're expecting that now, if let's say you are traveling and you walk to any bank, the bank should be able to supply you. If people keep going to the bank and they are not getting the supply, then it means that truly it wasn't the documentation, but rather it's more about the availability of those currencies.
Thank you so much, Mr. Appiah. Thank you. It's always enlightening to hear from you on this subject matter. We are grateful for your time this evening, sir.
Thank you too for having me.
Great. So that's Collins Appiah. He's a currency analyst speaking to us on that development. Let me take you to the Ashanti region now, because labor unions and the management of the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital have opposed a petition to remove the chief executive officer, Professor Ochre Mensah. The petitioner, who is the former attorney for the hospital, lawyer Kwame Adofo, has accused Professor Mensah of financial impropriety and procurement violation. In a petition to President Akufo-Addo, lawyer Adofo, who was once the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital's legal counsel until December 31 last year, disclosed that he has substantial evidence indicating the CEO's financial mismanagement and incompetence since assuming the office in 2022. However, in a sharp rebuttal, the management of CATH, including the labor unions, in a joint statement contested the allegations, arguing the petition is groundless and fraught with inaccuracies. They say the accusations fail to define the true character of their CEO, who they described as committed and dedicated to the well-being and development of the hospital. So we'll shortly be joined on the phone lines by lawyer Kwame Adofo, who is the petitioner and also a former attorney at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. He has joined us on the phone lines now. Counsel, okay, Well, we've lost lawyer Adolfo there. We'll try one more time to get to him to understand exactly what the basis for his petition to the president for the removal of the CEO of the Comfort Teaching Hospital are. Because now we have the management and labor unions also of the hospital coming out to oppose this particular petition to remove their CEO. They say the CEO is very committed and that the reasons for his petition to remove the CEO, talking about Lawyer Adolfo's petition, they are groundless and baseless. Well, Lawyer Adolfo has joined us on the phone lines now. Counsel, good evening. Welcome to Starr Today.
Thank you.
Great. So you have petitioned the president for the removal of the CEO of CAF. Exactly why?
I see. It is true. And I have, in fact, petitioned the president. And the reasons are contained in the petition. I'm not sure if you've seen a copy.
I have seen the copy talking about the incompetences and financial improprieties since he assumed office in 2022.
Correct. Now, they have also sent something called a rejoinder. I hope you have got a copy of that one as well.
Yes, and they say that your petition is basically groundless and fraught with inaccuracies.
Yes. On the basis of that, then I'm prepared to talk to you. Since they have responded and described my petition as groundless, then I'm happy to speak to you. Now, my allegations I'm making against the Chief Executive Officer are on 3 grounds. The first one is that I am seriously alleging, that he has taken some monies from government, people's money, and he has not been able to account for it. On 4th July 2023, he signed a check in the sum of 100,000. Now, you see, with government departments, anytime you sign a check, there's something called payment voucher, which is PV. And the PV will have to describe or will have a narration of what you are going to use the money for. It's a legal document. Say, I write on the PV, pay Starr FM an amount of X cedis. Once the check goes and Starr FM doesn't get paid, the check has to come back to chest.
Right.
That is how the law works. Now, if Starr FM doesn't get paid and the check doesn't come back to chest, it means somebody has committed a criminal offense by writing a narration that a check is going to Starr FM when Starr FM never got paid. That's how serious it is. Now, on the 4th of July 2023, the Chief Executive Officer signed a check in the sum of 100,000. And I've got a check number, which I'm sure you have it. It's on my petition.
Yeah.
All right? And he said it's for preparation, compilation of documents for critical engagement with NHIA. It turns out there was no such engagement with NHIA. The question then arises is, why didn't he return the check? He didn't. Now, similar ones took place. On 4th July again, a check for 80,000. Again, the narration is funds for preparation, compilation of documents. 80,000 for preparation for compilation of documents. That also never took place. The next one is on 14th of August, he signed a check for 120,000. And the narration is being funds for facilitating meeting with key leadership of help in Accra. That also never took place. So the question is, why didn't you return the check? And if you look at the so-called rebuttal, they say, oh, he has gone and account to the board. How do you go and account to the board? For money that you took for a specific purpose that you didn't do. So you went and account to the board and said what? You took the money and then what? You used it for something else? Well, legally, when you say, I am going to use the money for A, it has to be used for A. Right. Otherwise, you return it back. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
So the total amount there is 300,000 Ghana cedis that he took on a specific narration on a legal document called payment voucher. That never took place, and he never returned the money back to chest. So clearly, there's a serious criminal offense that he has committed. It doesn't matter what explanation he has subsequently gone and given to the board. It's irrelevant. The legal document says you take the money for A, you use it for A. Full stop. Now, that's the first allegation.
Right.
The second allegation is, in January this year, he went to Dubai, ostensibly for and on behalf of Konfanochi Hospital. Fantastic. But then he claims that he has, on his own, been able to raise some money for his airline ticket and accommodation. And therefore, he's only claiming per diem. He then put in an application which was approved, and the per diem was issued not in his name, but in the name of the Director of Administration. So clearly, you start seeing the pattern. The question that arises is, did Konfanochi say they cannot afford to fly him to Dubai, and therefore he should go and source funds on his own? Is that what he's saying? Did Konfanochi say, okay, you go and look for funds to pay for your ticket? So you work for Starr FM. Starr FM wants you to travel to London. And then you go and source for your own funds to buy your airline ticket and accommodation, and you come back to Starr FM and say, give me per diem. It doesn't make sense. Again, all right, what is more worrying and dangerous is, what will make an individual or somebody want to pay for you to go to Dubai on behalf of Konfanochi? This is even more dangerous and scary for Konfanochi. Why would Konfanochi take such a risk to get your CEO to go to an independent person to pay for his flights and accommodation? Very dangerous. The question that arises is, what is that person going to get in return? You can see that clearly he has compromised the position of Konfanochi. Let's put that on the side. And then in the end, he claimed per diem of $6,090. This is government money we are talking about. You see, when we say be citizens, not spectators, it's what I'm doing. When I have seen something which is clearly in violation of the law, I have a very cardinal duty to voice it out. Now let's go to the next one. The next allegation, which is another serious one. There's an employee of Konfanochi who is an accountant at the O&G department. This accountant was given contract signed by this chief executive officer. And I've got copies, and I submitted copies to the president. 340,000 Ghana cedis, an employee of Konfanochi, to do rehabilitation job. Somebody who is an accountant. And you see, the lie they are telling is that, we didn't even know. We give contracts only to companies and not individuals. You see, what they are not telling you is, this guy is a sole trader. So it's Kwame Adofo trading us. So it's a sole trader business. And in their own document they released, Form A, shows the guy is trading, and he just opened the company in October, 2 months before this guy becomes chief executive. All right? And he says his address, P.O. Box 1934. Can you guess what that address is? Konfanochi's bingo. Konfanochi's address is P.O. Box 1934.
Which is the address of Konfanochi's Hospital?
Absolutely. So this guy, who is a sole trader, comes to apply for a job, a contract. His contract has given you a form indicating who is behind the sole.
Hello? Oh. Wow. We lost Lawyer Adofo. Producers, let's try and get Lawyer Adofo back on the phone lines, and let's wrap up the conversation with him. But while we work the phone lines to speak to Lawyer Adofo again, let's do some other stories while producers work the phone lines to reach Lawyer Adofo so that we can wrap up on this conversation. But in sports this evening, Bawa Husseini, president of the Ghana Athletics, has revealed the Confederation of African Athletics has asked Ghana to bid for the African Championships in 2026. In an interview on GH1 TV with Benjamin Yamwa, Bawa Husseini, who doubles as the General Secretary of CAA Zone 2, stated that the successful hosting of the African Games in Accra convinced the African Athletics Federation to ask Ghana to put in the bid for the Games.
And Ghana, I mean, let us play politics, but let's say whoever does anything good, it's worth mentioning.
Absolutely.
What investment government put into this infrastructure is unprecedented.
At Legon,
Botema, even the running circuit itself. It
First
is
class.
First class. We have 3 in Africa.
Okay.
1 in Kenya, 1 in Botswana, and in Ghana. Even in Morocco, they don't have it. So once we have such excellent infrastructure and facility, the only thing we can do to maximize the usage of that thing is to have such competitions. More international competition that also give a leverage of our athletes to also compete at the highest level. Gambia, they are coming with their African team. After this competition, they will stay in Ghana, camp in Ghana before going to Cameroon.
Now, the leaders of Norway, Ireland, and Spain say their countries will officially recognize Palestine as a state on May 28, 2024. Now, the move, they say, will officially open doors for peace talks to commence with Israel. Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide says that a two-state solution is a political solution and their only option if peace must be restored in the Middle East. The current Israel-Hamas war has taken the lives of so many people, and peace talks is the only hope for civilians in the Middle East. Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide was speaking at an international partners meeting in Brussels. Listen.
We are in this low point in history when it comes to the Middle East. It is exactly when you need to think about the day after. There's an imperative, which is to get to a ceasefire. There is another imperative, which is to radically upgrade the humanitarian efforts. But neither of these are actually solutions. The solutions have to be political, and we need to think about that political solution now. That is the context in which Spain, Ireland, and Norway chose to recognize. We encourage other countries to do the same. We know that a number of European countries are either on the way to do so or contemplating, and we hope they will follow suit. But the main point from our side was to send a strong signal into this process that we cannot just be stuck with the way we wanted to do this in the 1990s. We have to realize where we are. We are in 2024, and we need to upgrade this long-standing vision of a peaceful settlement in the Middle East, a Palestinian state living beside an Israeli state.
So you heard the Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide speaking at an international partners meeting in Brussels. And then start today here on Starr 103.5 FM. There's more news for you at starfm.com.gh. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah, and on behalf of the entire Komladomo newsroom, we say thank you for joining us this evening. Let's do same tomorrow right here on Simply the Best, Starr 103.5 FM. Grateful to Emmanuel Donkor for making sure that we are live on Facebook. Join us tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.